Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I'm going to do an update on SUI and I'm going to explain how we can get an additional 137% upside for this coin. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. If you want to trade SUI, there's a link in the description to open a new account on Bybit. By doing so, you can get up to 30,000 in rewards depending on your trading volume. When we look at the price on the weekly for SUI, we can see that we are approaching an interesting resistance. This comes from this order block at $4. At the moment, SUI is trading slightly above $4 so far on the weekly time frame, and since we have managed to defend the higher low, potentially we could be seeing a higher high forming in here, and that's why it's so important to keep in mind where is the resistance on the momentum and where do we have the liquidation levels right above the price that we could be using as an excuse to get higher. And if we go with the first one, the first sneaky level at the moment is this tough resistance that we have at RSI 58. That after all is the momentum coming back to where it came from after we lost the support at 51. That is something that we did different relative to the previous two pumps that we have in this cycle. The first one was very perfect. The second one was a little bit more widen up in terms of the momentum, but still we managed to get at the top of the range without any major breakdown. Not even this move down in here was that bad because it hit perfectly the weekly support. In here, very early in the move up, we have a broken structure, and now we have the perfect opportunity to either see a big rejection from this level of resistance, or we could actually reclaim it and still go to the top of the range. There is a third scenario that could be that we actually just form a higher low and we continue to rally below the resistance. Personally, I'm in favor to support this third scenario, but just in case, I'm gonna give you the price targets and the levels to reject and support in case you disagree with my thesis. Things that are actually supporting the potential further upside are the liquidations that we have right above the price, which we are gonna look just in a moment, and the fact that SUI has had a major downgrade in terms of longs. We can see that we reduced 37 from 78, we went straight pretty much into 40, and I've been talking about this breakout, the potential of the breakout that we mentioned after we found support on 40, then we confirmed 1 week ago the breakout at 44, and we continue to progress in this direction towards the 50. That 50 is just a tough resistance that we need to keep an eye on, but actually if you look at either of these moves up, they pretty much have a magnitude that can be replicated in number 1 and 2. So if we get lucky and number 3 also have similar magnitude, we could revisit that area of 80s of longs. To do so, if we want to achieve that in a short time frame, then we need the RSI really to break this 58 to take the highs of 60 and remain somewhere in here at 63. If we do such a thing, we have the highest likelihood to visit the 81 top of the range and repeat for a third time that journey into the top of the range. Observe as well how we are still in an area on the RSI weekly where we have higher highs and higher lows. The structure is just mildly broken in here, but we haven't taken the lows of 40, neither the 34, so that is absolutely in our favor. In terms of socials, we managed to bounce from the bottom of the channel at almost 1% and now heading into almost 2%, but this is hinting that potentially this rally we could get a little bit more fuzz with maybe a 3% of social dominance. Why not? This level here at $4 is definitely the resistance, and that is reflected by the 58 on the RSI weekly. But if we manage to conquer those two, then that 80 something on the RSI is currently located almost at $10. That actually is in confluence with an extension of golden pocket. The 1618 is right there at $9.7. The extension of 1 is 6.7. Both of them are worth watching once we get there. The extension of 1 basically is replicating the same performance of this, and the 1618 is the natural one to think about in case we get really an altcoin season that is sustainable. I mean, more than 10 days in a row, which is the maximum we have done so far in this cycle. Now let's go into the daily time frame, and as you can see, we are approaching an area of very attractive liquidity. That is because at around $4 is where we started forming this widening falling wedge. We managed to break out on that on the 9th of July, and since then we've been doing nothing but taking shorts liquidity. They left a big bucket at 4.3, and I will say keep a close eye on what happens between 4.3 and 4.6, whether we get a strong rejection from there or if it's just a shallow bull flag that hints for continuation to the upside. The extension of 1 based on this bounce from $2-3 and the lows of 1.7, the highs of $4 is hinting an extension of 1 of $5, whereas the golden pocket is 6.6, which is more in confluence with what the weekly time frame shows for the extension of 1. That extension of 1 definitely consumes all the liquidity on the upper end, here ending at $5. So far on the daily time frame, you can see that the uptrend is intact. Indeed, our support is probably around RSI 65. That's probably around a price of $3.6. The biggest pool of liquidity below the price, according to Trading Different, this is on the daily time frame, is $3, followed by 2.7, and that is something that we keep in mind in case we have an ugly rejection at $4. You can see it as well on the liquidation heat map, $2.8 and 2.6. In this case, observe as well how the top end, the 4.3, is confirmed on CoinGlass. We can see it a little bit more in detail as well in CoinGlass Legend. It's placed at 4.2, followed by 4.3. We also have one interesting one at 4.5. At very close proximity of the price, 3.98 has a decent liquidation level, followed by 3.8 and 3.6. That increase in social dominance, we can go and have a look at some news. SUI price rally, Google Cloud partnership, $5 target and DeFi expansion, a fresh partnership with Google Cloud plus new HSBC and DBS validator nodes push SUI's DeFi TVL up 480% to 1.8 billion, reinforcing real-world adoption and shrinking liquidity supply. SUI eyes 140% move as the price reclaims $4, new all-time high imminent. So 3 out of 3 news in the past 48 hours are all bullish. Let's have a quick look at CryptoQuant, and we can see that we have futures average order size dominated by big whales. The futures volume bubble map surprisingly is showing cooling. I would have expected to start getting into the red as we approach $4. Futures taker CBD, that means that people with aggressive orders are primarily dominated by buy orders. Everything looks in the green so far according to CryptoQuant, and I will say as long as Bitcoin continues in this trajectory towards 130k, it is very likely that SUI is going to take even up to $5 at the very least in the short term. Now, any hiccup on Bitcoin in August and July, we need to be looking into the $3 mark to see what liquidity is around there for a retest of the breakout. After all, we exit this pattern straight up. We put a bull flag, straight up bull flag. So if there's any move down to take the late longs that are probably trying to catch up in case they get into $5, that could happen. Of course, this all can happen after getting into the area of the liquidity pools. So I will say entering this area, I will start tightening my stop loss, trailing towards locking in some good profits in case we get any move down. The best advice is observe on the daily time frame on a chart all the rallies that previously you had with SUI and see what sort of pullbacks you can expect. For example, in here, before getting into $5, you were seeing pretty much every week pullbacks of 20+%. This, for example, is 28% within the most bullish area, although clearly in here we have the beginning of the distribution. As you can see, the RSI is starting to decline. So far, the RSI is very pronounced to the upside. We know where is the support, and we have the opportunity of taking those class of liquidity. If you are in a swing trade, that could be the perfect excuse to take some decent profits. if we get there. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, write down a comment down below. That is the best way to prevent days like yesterday, which I didn't feel much motivation to put videos on all coins. After all, they don't get many views anyways. I love making the videos, but I also like the feeling that the videos are actually helping people. And it seems that people are primarily putting their eyes on Bitcoin these days anyways. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.